this set of slides really, it's almost the same as chapter 2 in the second edition of the book. So the idea there was to look at a simple problem, simple data set, and kind of introduce some concepts, buzzwords, definitions, kind of things that will show up in most visualizations. That's an attempt. I mean, they covered some things that will, yes, they are relatively universal, and we have the same terminology as we go forward. So the problem they have is looking at a visualization for a car. And here is the kind of data set. You can imagine I have used cars. Say I have a database of used cars that are, I have the make price model and so forth for a used car. And the thing is, how do I visualize this? And really, this is, I'm just going to veer off topic right now completely. But for the project, and in general, it'd be nice if visualization worked like that. They don't do it in real life. But for your project, I'd like you to consider, okay, since we're talking about car visualization, let's look at what's out there right now. So I'm going to share my screen for a second. The point I'm trying to make is the following. You should not treat the visualization as a query. If you want to write a query for a database, you have to know pretty much a lot of the information before you get the results. You need to know exactly how much money you want to spend. You need to know exactly what kind of car do you want. You need to know. So after you add all of these questions, you run the query and you see that you have 0 cars that satisfy your query, and you spend 5 minutes on it. Or you may get to 20,000 cars, and that's still not good. So I want visualization to kind of start with the big picture, and then you can narrow it down to what you want, rather than have to ask a million questions and then kind of look up at the visualization. And again, for the project, I like you to kind of consider that. So I had some people who were trying to do the project, but you have first to click this button, select yes or no, select it, and then finally you see something. No, I'd like to see everything. And then if I want to see yes and no, as I do that, the thing that I look at narrows. So here is what a normal Edmunds Kelly Blue Book, I don't know which one, but so if you want a car, if you want to browse cars, used cars for sale, you don't see any car right now. In order to see a car, you need to answer questions. So what do you want? I want an Alfa Romeo. What model? I want Giulia. And zip code is good. And after I answer these questions, I click go and they show me something. And there are some. Wow, good. But you see, what I like to see is, why not see all the cars that I have and then kind of narrow it down, make it easy for me to kind of narrow down and go to these and select something. So I don't like the million questions at the beginning before you see something.
But that is the problem. While giving the initial information, we are defining the problem.
You are, yes, but what if you don't know the problem? If you're buying a car and you don't know, actually, I can tell you the last 2 cars I bought, I did not expect to buy them. It was something there was no visualization tool that helped me. It was my own eyes, or we just ran into them on the lot and said, wow, this looks good and price is good, let's take it. But I have not looked at it online. I looked for something else completely because I was convinced, I wasn't convinced I want that, but it was something that I kind of wanted, but I wasn't set for that particular car. So for me, in real life, it really happened where I bought cars that I did not search for. I just ran into them on the lot, and I look at the price, and I look inside. Well, I didn't expect to be like that. I had a preconceived idea that those cars were not good or what the interior would be like. And when I looked at them, it was like, yeah, well, this actually is something I like. And I'm pretty happy with my decisions. So Yes, you can define the problem if you can define the problem, but sometimes problems don't have a good definition. I want to define it on the fly. I want to keep changing the definition. Now, if I don't like Alfa Romeo and, well, I want another Italian car, let's see, a Maserati, I have to go back. Or even here, I have to select something else. I get a different models, and I want it within 10 miles. And I want it to be a Gran Turismo convertible. I don't think I think they're giving me stuff from other stuff. But the result is 0. They're just giving me stuff that's not 10 miles from here. So sometimes the problem I think I know has 0 solutions, so it's not going to help me to run it like that, okay? So keep that in mind. Maybe I'll get back to it, but that's what I want to point out. And towards the end of this set of slides, I'll show you, there's a visualization tool that actually starts with everything and it lets you narrow it down. And if you want to kind of come back and move around through the data set, you can do it while always seeing something. So without losing sight. Yes?
Basically, you're saying there's no null value in that
No, there is a null value, but many, like I said, many times, I want to see the entire sea rather than you ask me, what fish do I want? It needs to be at this longitude and latitude, at this depth. First, I need to give you all the information before I see the fish. I want to see the entire ocean, and then I can just zoom through it, just like you do on a map.
It's like you're going with no knowledge, you're going in a market and you want a complete picture.
Yeah, now I understand the technical reasons why this is impossible for this website to do it. They have hundreds of thousands of cars and hundreds of thousands of people who hit this website continuously. And if they were to always query their database to always pull up, hundreds of thousands of things and give it to people so they can navigate, their website will crash. I mean, it's just hard performance-wise. But from an ideal point of view, let's not carry, but this is not a database class. It's a visualization class. How can I make the data easy to understand to people?
But then just dumping the data over me, that would be useless.
Well, we'll see later on when we get to the end. I'll go and we'll contrast the two. Why? If you see everything that's out there, and then you just, with a mouse click, you select what you want, just click on it. You like the colors, you select the colors that you want, or you like the brands that you want. Can you select more than one brand? Yes. Here I'm seeing one at a time. How do I compare Maserati with the other one? They won't even let me do that. So being able to see many things helps me with the comparison rather than have to remember to use my old brain to remember, well, what was the price of that Giulia? What's the engine? Was it 246 horsepower? Was 264 horsepower? What is the price? So even for comparison, just, this is limiting it to one single thing, and you have to know what you want. If you're not, then your task becomes a lot harder. Let's go back to the problem at hand. And again, I'll get back to it. Keep that in mind, cars. Get back to it when we do Easy Chooser at the end. I'll kind of show. But even this guy can show you. The author almost uses Easy Chooser as a tool. For Easy Chooser was built by somebody else, but he kind of took the idea and he's trying to kind of demonstrate to us how we can build a visualization that looks at everything. So let's see how. Let me go back to slides. Here's an example, and it doesn't have to be that complicated. Here's an example of showing everything. So what they've done here, this is almost like a histogram, if you're familiar with them. If not, we'll cover them in lecture 4. So the length of each of these bars, it's a histogram put on their side. The length is proportional to how many cars are between 10,000 and 12,000 pounds. The Robert Spence, he's British, so this is in pounds. And so between 10,000 and 12,000, there's a few cars. But there you can see there's more that are between 12 and 14. And there's even more between 16 and 18. Okay, so the question, how do you do it? You do it something like that. That's one simple approach. And again, it's almost like a bar chart where you take the bars and you flip them on their side and you kind of put them next to each other. They tend to be a little bit more efficient, actually, you'll see. So the idea here, this is an overview. It's pre-attentive. And it's complete. These are all the cars that I have. Why not start with that? Maybe even have all the makes and models, and you see how many cars of each are available, or at least how many, are next to me. Or start with that, and then you kind of say, I want to see next to me, and then they change. Here also he makes the case detail. What would be detail? The best detail about a car may be a picture of the car. Not necessarily information in the sense of mileage, MPG, and all that. But here are all the cars in my database. Now, it's going to be impossible to have all the pictures for all the cars on Edmunds. I realize that. That's not going to work, but there are ways around it. But at least, let's think about it this way. Let's have everything. So this provides detail. Many times, the detail doesn't have to be everything about the car. Notice this. I just see a picture of the car. I don't know. It's MPG. I may not even know its condition. I just see a picture of how the car looks like, and then I pick it up from there, if that's something that interests me. Here's a better overview. What they did now, what if I just even give you how many cars are in each category? Again, for this simple example, it works. So between 10 and 12, you see there are only 2 cars. Between 12 and 14, there are 4. And here I have 5. That's why it's the longest. Okay, so it's a little bit better. Now I can even connect the overview and detail. And this, it's called brushing. And by the way, many people have called it many times. Sometimes I forgot the names I've seen. But let's say this is called brushing. So what brushing is, as you mouse over, so that kind of assumes you have a mouse, a touch screen. I'm not sure how it's going to work on a touch screen. So it might not work on a touch screen. But assumes you have a mouse. And as you mouse over, as you move your mouse over this, the car that it corresponds to is going to be somehow emphasized. We're going to change how we represent that. And so we're connecting that through brushing. I have the overview here, the detail here. And it may work the other way around. I can move my mouse over a car, and it will light up. So all the views of that object that contain that object will light up one way or the other. That's called brushing. It's a very simple thing. It just allows you very fast movement. You can move your mouse quickly and see where you are. Can you rely only on brushing for very serious tasks? No, you kind of have to do something else. Visualization is to be more static, but this is something that happens really quickly. It's implied that it's dynamic. I mean, you are dynamic. You're going to go through it quickly and don't want to spend a lot of time. Just want to get a little bit of the idea where they are. Okay, so all I'm doing right now, and these are the 2 things, and maybe the next, it corresponds to the next chapters in the book. One is talking about representation. The other is talking about presentation. So by representation, what they mean is the encoding. So now I figured out that one way to encode my cars is as pictures, because I have the picture available. The other way is as these bars, and I can compute the size of each bar, and I can figure out how many dots I put on top of each bar. So that is the encoding. I take the data that's in my database, and I come up with my graphical attribute, the marks. And I have an algorithm to do that. And that's normally called representation, the encoding. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. I'm still trying to decide how to encode these. It's kind of the encoding, the visual encoding. Now, if I have more attributes, I can make even better. I still have, this is another overview, but it's focusing on MPG. And again, you can see how brushing works and connects them. I can see where that car. So you kind of see now it's more useful because I can just move over the the pictures here, and then I will see where they light up pretty quickly. Kind of, yes. No. I the what is multifunctioning? I mean the interactive part. I think Tufte, when he came up with those principles, he wasn't looking at interactive visualizations. It's the book that did not cover those, so I don't know. Can we decide to do it? Sure, I'm using the visual elements there interactively. So, in a way, yes. The visualization is all the marks are being used not only to display data, but also to access, to change the visualization itself. So possibly. But it doesn't fit any of the two descriptions there that they were under. He has a number of books, and I think the earliest couple of them were before computers, and then he started looking at visualization on computer. He looked only at scientific visualization as well, not only information. And then he didn't like it. One of the books is not very, he doesn't like he thinks many times interactivity. If you want to search for it, search Tufte and PowerPoint. He basically has he's criticizing the PowerPoint style that everybody uses. He has it's a poster. And he used to be able to buy it, big poster, put it in your office. On why not? I'm still using PowerPoint. I'm sorry. He was not there, so I don't know the answer. What the rest of the world will consider multifunctioning on this, on the interactivity part. But yeah, in a way it is because I'm using it as a way to change my visualization. Okay, so multiple attributes, they show up like that. So I figured out my encoding. Here, actually multifunction if you want, but not quite, it's there. But all of these dots here, they kind of work together to come up with the bar. But though I have the bar there, so it's not very strong multifunctioning. One other thing I can do is kind of use interactivity to my advantage and mark cars or things that I like about a car. So if I find a couple of cars that are I kind of like them, but not 100%, but I may be able to consider them if I don't find anything else better, I can mark them. Just click on one of these and it'll change to a different, I change its encoding, its representation. So now that car will show as a triangle everywhere. So for example, this may show up as a triangle here and as a triangle here. So I can kind of see where it falls in different data attributes. Another thing I can do, so besides that objects of interest, focusing on one object only, I can select kind of a whole range of objects of interest. And in this case, what I can do is click on one of the bars and I select all of them. So I still use kind of the same brushing technique. It's not brushing, but because they're going to stay selected. And I can see where they fall. So I can see that cars in the price range between 12 and 14, they're all over the place in terms of MPG. I have a range. It's not like I can still pick my MPG from it. And that's called focusing. I focus on that data. Why is it called focusing? Well, that data is showed somewhat different, but the rest of the information is still there. All the other points, they have not disappeared yet. So I focus, it's kind of the opposite of it would be filtering when you take things out. It's coming up in a few slides. But I just want to point out, on focus, I keep everything. On filtering, I take it out. And actually, we're over time.